Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Reason We Learn. I'm Deb Philman, mom, homeschooler, educator. Today is a little treat for those of you who don't venture out into the Twitter cesspool. You're welcome. I take one for the team here. And actually, Karlyn Borysenko is taking one for all of us because she decided today to live tweet a webinar aimed at teachers entitled Your Anti-Racism Toolkit, the Educator's Playbook to Talking Diversity, hosted by EdWeb team. Now, she tells me there were over 500 teachers in attendance here. I don't know if they're required to be there. I don't know if it's voluntary. She said the chat is more entertaining than the webinar because it's so woke. And she gives some examples in this, but I'm not going to read the whole thing because she's like live tweeting it. But I just decided to jump on here after a long day of rearranging my setup here and doing a few other things. Just for a quick one, I want to go through some of these because it's just entertaining, I guess. It's not really. It's actually deeply disturbing, but I'm hoping by sharing little bits of it here with you, you will begin to get the point that you need to get your kids out of the schools. Out. Just get out. There's no reforming this. This is what's happening. So now Karlyn did a video, and I recommend you go check it out, about white fragility. She read it. She annotated whatever. She read it in like 2 days. Okay, it's 150 pages long. It's not very challenging. But one of the first things she said is, oh God, one of the speakers just finished White Fragility. It took her a month to read. It's like 150 pages long. They are gushing over how excited they are to read Barack Obama's new book, and OMG, how amazing it is to is read in Michelle's voice. So it's really reading when you're listening to it. I don't know. People get professional credit for watching this presentation. Maybe I'll sign up to get a certificate. We know that this work, this is a quote, diversity, equity, and inclusion doesn't have an end date. It is eternal. Are you starting to catch on, guys? This is a cult. It is a cult. It's a religion. It's a cult. There were hundreds of teachers watching this webinar. So it says, how prepared do you feel to have conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion in your classroom? 52% feel somewhat prepared. Only 16% feel very prepared, and a tiny percentage feel unprepared. Need more guidance, 28%. If you never empower your students to become allies, you are not only stalling your students, you're stalling your own growth. You know, when I went into teaching, my own growth was like dead last on my priority list. I do other things for my own growth. I don't use my students for that. Now, if I happen to grow emotionally, intellectually, as a person because of something that happens while I'm teaching, yay, bonus. But I certainly don't sponge emotionally off of children. That's creepy. Not intentionally, I don't. Like I said, it might happen accidentally, but that's not a goal. The classroom is the safest place to have these conversations. No, it's not. It shouldn't be. Anyway, it shouldn't be. 80% of teachers they surveyed placed diversity, equity, and inclusion as one of their top 2 most pressing topics. 84% said teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion is a school priority. 84%. Understand something. These kids, by and large, cannot read. They cannot do math. They cannot think critically. They don't know anything about civics. They have no life skills. They have terrible posture. Have you noticed their posture is terrible? I say as I slump. No, but have you seen some of these? It's like, I don't have any self-confidence. And so look at the video about the college kids. Somebody made that comment. I can't believe I didn't mention it. It's so true. The other top priority is mental health. So teaching the topics of the classes are not a top priority. Okay, I'm not saying anything about academics. They're not trained mental health experts, you guys. They're teachers. When you go to school to become a teacher, you become a teacher for a specific subject matter area. If you want to get your kids help with their mental health issues, the last place you should look is the classroom teacher. There are reasons for that, but I'm not going to go into them here. Just, it should go without saying. You need to seek professional help of someone who does that sort of thing. Gen Z are not millennials. They are aware of what's happening in the world around them. I think if I were a millennial right now, I'd be pretty offended. I'm not. I'm Gen X, but they're aware of what's happening in the world around them. So what? The millennials are complete zombies and clueless? Nice. They're a monolith too. We're dealing with students with higher rates of mental health concerns and racial trauma. And Karlyn says the mental health concerns I totally believe. Now, if you don't know who Karlyn is, she's an organizational psychologist, a coach. She's trained in this sort of thing, so she recognizes it. Socially conscious and activist inclined. They were taught to be that way. They're children. They're children. Socially conscious. I mean, I was socially conscious when I was, I'm not socially unconscious. I don't know what's happening in the world. I mean, I was watching Nightline at 15. Okay. They're getting it from school. They're indoctrinated. Activist inclined. They're activists because you made them that way. Beacon High School is half white. That's why students walked out. They put this in a slide, you guys. This is a reason to walk out. It's a selective public high school, one of New York City's most prestigious. And so the students walked out because it's half white. Okay. The general population is more than half white. You walk out for that? This is insane. How do we navigate our own educator biases to support the whole student today? We know what biases they're talking about. The need, looking at education, 79% of teachers, I know you guys can't read these. I'm sorry, I'd blow them up, but it would distort the whole screen. So I'm just going to read it to you. 79% of teachers in 2017 to 2018, about 79% of public school teachers were white. So that automatically makes you biased. Did you know? 49% of students were white. 49% were white. Okay, so the point is what? There are too many white teachers? Okay. So sorry, white teachers. They don't want you because you're white. Your skin color is a problem. And we have fewer than 50% white students. I'm sure they're going to tell us that the fact that white students are not going to the schools, the public schools, makes them racist. Not just that their parents, are doing something else because they want them to have a quality education, and public education sucks. Okay. I mean, my kids are in a private online academy, a homeschool academy. I promise you, I do not have lots of money. It is very inexpensive. If you want to make changes, you can. Of course, educators of any race can teach students of color, but it's important to center ourselves in equity. Well, it's nice of them to say that students of any race can or teachers of any race can teach students of any color. That's awfully nice of them to say, considering that's all they got is the 79%. The equity graphic, here we go. I did a video about this. Ooh, this one's even weirder than the one I used. It brings about a lot of thoughts and feelings. Yes, like, why are we allowing people to steal? And Karlyn says, I especially like that they just took the wall down in this version. She says, should I troll them? Be like, why didn't they just buy a ticket? That was my comment. And she did it. She trolled them. But if they take the wall down, doesn't that mean they got something for free that everyone else paid for? Yes, that's exactly what it means. And notice the choice of words, liberation. They intend to liberate you from your stuff. Take it. Because, see, everyone who paid, who's sitting in a seat, they're like right behind, second base? No tickets. Awesome. Okay, equity has dimensions. Woo, multicultural education focuses on celebrating diversity, centers around creating positive social interactions across differences. Diversity and inclusion efforts live here, concerns itself with exposing privileged students to multiple perspectives and other cultures. For students of color, the focus on seeing themselves reflected in the curriculum, social harmony. Okay, I need to comment on this because this drives me crazy. If you're going to go with there are students who are privileged and, oh, by the way, they're white. One of the things that comes with supposed privilege, or at least, having disposable income in your family, is travel. And what I've noticed is that they focus so much on, well, if you're privileged, you have no awareness of people of other cultures. You're, somehow you just have no clue that other people don't look like you or whatever. I've experienced the exact opposite from childhood until now and all the way through my teaching career. Many of the kids who are what they're calling underprivileged live like these insular, isolated existences where they don't even understand they don't understand anything about anybody who looks different from them. They're the ones They're the ones who have all kinds of biases and, they look at white people and think that all white people are a monolith and think the same. They literally haven't had that much exposure, and they definitely haven't traveled around to places that where you see white people who speak other languages and the whole culture does too. They might know some brown students, Hispanic students, etc. So they get that exposure, but they really don't have perspective. They don't even have perspective outside their own state or city oftentimes. So I found that this idea that, somehow privileged kids have no sense of anything and they're just like completely isolated, it's just not true. They travel more. And they don't all go to Disney World, okay? I mean, people travel and they go places and they see things, and I think it's overly simplistic and rude to make assumptions based on someone's skin color and to assume that kids of all skin colors can't learn from each other in this regard. And it's like exposing privileged students to multiple perspectives. How about exposing the kids who aren't privileged to multiple perspectives? Everybody could benefit from multiple perspectives. Everyone, all students. Doesn't matter what you look like. Social justice education. This is the critical consciousness. Now we're going to do critical race theory. Focuses on exposing the social political context that students experience. This isn't teaching. Can we talk about some academics? Why are schools becoming these, like, it's creepy, you guys. This isn't school. This has nothing to do with learning the skills you need to live life. There are doing all kinds of social engineering here. Centers around raising students' consciousness about inequity in everyday social, environmental, economic, and political situations. Anti-racist efforts live here. That's activism. That's the cult. The cult of woke begins, and it's only the middle layer. That's kind of creepy. Concerns itself with creating a lens to recognize and interpret inequitable patterns and practices in society. This is where they issue the hammer with which you hit the nails, all of which are, every problem you see requires the hammer. They're all nails. All the problems, they're racist. Just hit with the hammer. This is where they issue your hammer. Culturally responsive education focuses on improving the learning capacity of diverse students who have been marginalized educationally. Unless they have learning disabilities, they have the same learning capacity as everybody else. There is no white learning capacity, marginalized or brown learning capacity. No, again, absent a learning disability or difficulty, not a problem. Centers around the affective and cognitive aspects of teaching and learning. Efforts to accelerate learning live here. This is independent learning for agency. I'm sorry to break this to you, but you're not going to get a whole lot of independent learning and agency after you get done with the social harmony and critical consciousness of victimhood, because agency can't live in the same house with victimhood. They don't go together. It doesn't work. The reason people need to buy a ticket to baseball games is colonization. Our barriers are here due to colonization. What? No, sorry. That's okay. No. Social justice education. What Ibram X. Kendi mentioned, she says, drink. One either allows racial inequities to persevere as a racist or confronts racial inequities as an anti-racist. So if you're not doing all this confrontation, you're a racist. You just want to live and let live and go through life and not see every problem as, anchored in race and racial issues and racism. You are a racist, according to him. That's a very broad definition of race. I'm not even going to go into this graphic. No. When you're in the fear zone, you deny that racism is an issue. You have to work through the fear to become anti-racist and acknowledge how you benefit from racism. This is the white fragility Kafka trap. In this chart, saying that the first step towards being an anti-racist educator is to validate your students' lived experiences. This is where we tell our students that their emotions are facts, and they're not just valid, but they're facts. Validate students' experiences and values. Disrupting power dynamics that privilege dominant groups. Empowering. This is all critical race theory, guys. This is racism, straight up. And it's a belief system. This is not facts. She's talking about doing a curriculum audit to make sure every component of the student's classroom experience is anti-racist. They're calling it culturally responsive. Unless, of course, you happen to be, a fan of Western culture. Then that makes you racist, because now you're saying you're a fan of whiteness, because Western culture is now synonymous with whiteness. Equity is an ideological commitment that is embedded in all we do. Remember, 500 teachers. What does it mean to be equity literate? Do you have knowledge, skill, and will? The ability to recognize even the subtlest biases and inequities. I have to look at this one. I do. Sorry. Gotta make it big. It's super blurry. Notice subtle bias in learning materials. Whenever they say notice subtle bias, that's basically open season for witch hunting. Like anything you can find in there. The chalk is white. That's bias. I mean, this is where they're going to go with this. Ability to respond to biases and inequities in the immediate term. Equity literate educators develop the facilitation skills and content knowledge necessary to intervene effectively when biases. That means they're going to go around and point fingers. They use fancy words like intervene when biases and inequities arise in a classroom or school. I heard that Gladys said that she preferred the white chalk to the pink chalk. They don't even use chalk anymore, but okay. She's, she doesn't, the whiteboard shouldn't be white. I mean, like, this is where we're going to get to. Everybody is rewarded and deemed valuable and an ally if they're finding these things. If you were to go through a month and say, no, I don't, looks pretty good. I don't see any biases or iniquities anywhere. They'd be like, racist. So they're going to be looking for it everywhere, and they will find it because that's where you get your praise. That's where you get your praise. Ability to create and sustain bias-free and equitable classrooms and schools. Prioritize consideration of the needs, challenges, and barriers experienced by students who are from marginalized groups. That is a little thing we call discrimination, and it's illegal. And who gets to decide if they're marginalized? Are we doing this by race now? You're going to ask every kid what their parents make for a living or where they live? Check their address, their zip code. Yeah? That's not okay. That's a violation of privacy. You shouldn't be asking them things like their sexual orientation or identity or any of that. None of this is any of your business. So you're going to be judging skin deep. And that's also not okay because this is America. We don't do that. The chat is more entertaining in this webinar than the actual webinar. And I'm not going to read you them, but there were things like, if you've ever said, I'm not a racist, but you're a racist. Then she says there's another troll. Unconscious bias doesn't predict biased behavior, so maybe we don't go full Orwell. Anyway, I just wanted to share this with you that 500 teachers are attending this, and that's what it looks like, and that's what's going on in our schools. And y'all need to get your kids out of those schools. You just do. Join my locals community. Come to my monthly Zoom live presentations, and it's just going to be open questions. Ask me anything, get help, if you want to find out more about self-directed learning or home education or alternatives to public school, what to say, how to push back. Join my locals community. And then in February, I'm starting these up. They're monthly so far, but I will add more. We could even make them weekly if they're popular. So tell your friends, show up. It is a benefit for subscribers though, because it is an hour of my time. So, and you're getting any advice, answers to any questions you want just for that, for being a member. It's very low. It's $5 a month, but you could join for the month of the meeting. And then if that's too much to continue, I completely understand, but I want people to be empowered. So there's that, but I also need to pay for the Zoom membership. So, there it is. But yeah, I want you guys to get out of there. This is crazy. This is nuts. The kids who are going to end up in these schools are going to be more than just activist inclined. They're going to come home from school each day and tell you what's wrong with you. I don't think you want that. Anyway, that's what I have for you today. Follow Karlyn on Twitter. She's at Dr. Karlyn B. Follow her YouTube at Karlyn Borysenko. She has a great locals community as well. She has a weekly live Zoom I tend to attend weekly. It's a lot of fun. We learn a lot from each other. A great group of people, really smart. And that's it. And I hope you'll subscribe to this channel as well. Like this content, like the video, share the video, get the word out. Get your kids out of school. That's it. Have a great evening, y'all.